Why paying attention is the start, not the end of listening. This question comes from Marie from Denver. Marie says, listening is hard. It takes too long. Honestly, why should I bother? Marie, I say listening is light and easy and straightforward when you know how. Marie, are you open to a different approach to listening? When you're open to improving your listening, conversations, projects, they all take a little less time because there's a less wasted effort in re-explaining things after you come back. More people, more resources, lower quality outputs. These are all the costs when you don't listen. And the upside when you listen better. As a result, you have more effective conversations the very first time. Marie, I'd like you to notice that the location of your attention affects the effort and the quality of your listening. And your listening impacts the way the speaker communicates. I'd love to invite you to explore the difference between paying attention and giving attention. I sense you're probably paying attention when it comes to your listening. And paying attention feels like, well, it's a form of taxation. It's draining, it takes time, it's a duty, it's an obligation, it's a responsibility, it's something you have to do. So you go through the motions because you sense it's the socially acceptable thing to do during a conversation. When you pay attention, ironically, your focus is on you. You're listening from your side of the conversation. If you're a regular traveler listening to a flight safety announcement, well, you pay attention, and you pay attention because you have to. Your mindset is, yeah, here's some information that needs to be said. So you go through the motions of listening. You know what they'll say. No, you anticipate what they'll say because in your mind you've heard it all before. In fact, you think that you could recite the entire flight safety announcement all by yourself. Now imagine the identical flight, yet at 30,000 feet, and the captain makes an announcement mid-flight that you're experiencing turbulence and the crew will need to go through the flight safety announcement. In that moment, your attention rapidly moves from the captain to the crew, and you're definitely not listening from your side of the conversation. And although they'll provide the identical information to the flight safety announcement, in this moment, you're moving from paying attention to giving your complete and undivided focus. Nothing will get in the way of you watching and listening for this safety announcement. As the crew explains the exit, you will literally count the number of rows to the exit and make sure you look exactly where the flight crew is pointing when they're showing the closest exit. You fight the urge to know what the closest exit is by only thinking about looking forward, and your curiosity, because you're giving attention, helps you to explore alternatives that you may not have considered, like the fact the nearest exit might be behind you. In this moment, your attention narrows, your focus is precise because nothing is more important than understanding these safety instructions. You collect the flight safety card from the seat pocket, which you may never have looked at before, and you read it carefully from top to bottom, from left to right, from right to left, from back to front, and front to back again. You give that card your complete and undivided attention. Now keep in mind your attention is finite and it's flexible. Whether you choose to pay attention or give attention is critical to understand that neither is correct. It's a choice about where you direct your attention in that moment and what is appropriate for the situation, the context, and the relationship. When you pay attention, typically you feel constrained, restricted, or limited. It makes a listening for you, Marie, feel like a task and a chore. Paying attention is most effective when dealing with well known, predictable situations and relationships where a routine is present and the pathway forward is relatively predictable. Now let's turn our attention to giving attention. Giving attention is most appropriate in emergency, evolving, or emerging situations. It might be the beginning of a project. It might be the beginning of a relationship. And it comes from a very different place to paying attention. This is an act of curiosity, generosity, and possibility when you give attention. When you give your complete attention, you notice what they say and also what they haven't said. You notice the connection between what they've said and how they say it. This is all possible because your working memory can attend to your listening, and consequently, it's much easier to pause and be patient. Marie, in this moment, when you give attention, when you completely surrender to the process of listening, listening actually becomes lighter and easier. It's not draining, it's not hard. Now, word of warning, it's impossible to give your complete and undivided attention to 100% of people, 100% of conversations, 100% of the time. Continuously listening with your attention by giving it does have some downsides. Giving your attention for too long, yes, it's draining, Marie, and it's overwhelming. So be careful to notice your attention before you arrive to the conversation. I'm inviting you to notice the sort of attention you bring before, during, and after the conversation. A skillful listener, a light listener, will choose when to pay attention because it's effective and efficient and an easy way to adjust. And notice when giving attention is appropriate. Keep in mind, if you're dealing with routine tasks, yes, paying attention can be the most efficient and effective way to do that. And giving attention, typically think about that when the stakes are high, when it's the beginning of a relationship, when it's the beginning of a project, at the beginning of a conversation. Marie, I hope that helps you, and I'll be curious to see what you apply from noticing whether you're giving or paying attention in a conversation. Applications have just opened for the Deep Listening Leaders Academy. This is your chance to enhance your listening skills through the personal support of 5 to 6 other workplace listeners and me. If you'd like to discover more, just email me podcast@oscartrimboli.com. That's podcast@oscartrimboli.com with the subject line Deep Listening Leader Academy. I'm Oscar Trimboli, and I'm on a quest to create 100 million deep listeners in the world, and you've given me the greatest gift of all. You've listened to me. Thanks for listening.